My name is Amy Souder. I'm the Chief Business Officer of Veative. I'm also a former public educator. I was a teacher and a principal for years in Palm Beach County School District. So during this session, we're going to explore how virtual labs, simulations, and experiences can be utilized in the classroom and outside of the classroom during distance learning and during the hybrid classroom to apply learn concepts, build background knowledge, and engage in scientific behaviors. So hybrid learning combines face-to-face online teaching and distance learning into one cohesive experience. So in order to create the best possible experience for students, teachers really have to decide for a particular learning objective. Is it going to be better for me to teach this face-to-face? Is it going to be better for students to learn this online? Which one is going to be better in that model? So some of the challenges with distance learning and the hybrid model when considering STEM and CTE instruction is that CTE and STEM curriculum, it might not give students the same immersive, interactive, hands-on opportunities that they would have in the classroom when you're doing distance learning. So, some of the innovative ways that teachers are delivering content in the classroom are difficult to do when you're not in front of the student. And then even when you're back in the building, hands-on activities and labs might be difficult to facilitate due to social distancing. And again, if you're distance learning. So, let's talk a little bit about the importance of interactive learning, especially in regards to STEM and CTE. So student meaning beyond what is presented, when the learning opportunities help to build that background knowledge through applying what they've learned and also through real world experience, relating it to the student so that they, understand they can connect something in their real world. And then giving students the opportunity to explore fundamental questions about the world. This is really important, focusing on behaviors that scientists use. So those scientific behaviors, that's what students acquire. They learn those skills when they conduct labs and they're collaborating in the classroom. So how can we recreate that in the home environment? And then they need to be able to, in terms of CTE, they need to be able to practice those skills to be successful in a career. So, these are things that are done and learned and acquired by doing, by getting hands-on and really getting to experience the content in a different way. The other piece that can be challenging with distance learning in the hybrid model is tracking student progress. And this is critical because the data is what's going to give teachers a snapshot into what students know, what they should know, where they are in reference to the learning target. And educators need to be able to efficiently and effectively capture student data in a distance learning environment so they can make informed decisions on what they need to be teaching, what they need to remediate on, and to positively affect student outcomes. So virtual labs and simulations are a great answer to this. So when students are in a classroom, they interact and explore with content in a variety of ways. So if you have virtual labs, simulations, or virtual experiences that students can do when they're not in the classroom, it's a great option for engaging the students and providing interactive learning opportunities that can be utilized at home. So in our solution, the Veative Education Solution, the first thing you have is the learning management platform. You can manage your classes, that's where you're going to view your content. You assign labs, you put the labs for the week that you want the students to do. It's also where you're going to see your analytic reports, the student data. And we have over 500 interactive virtual labs, simulations, and experiences. They're accessible on any computer with internet access, and they're also accessible on our virtual reality headsets. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about those. And then the data for tracking student learning. So the analytic reports are in the learning management platform, and our content has built-in assessments. So after a student completes a lab, a simulation, or experience, it's scored for them, and the teacher can see the analytic reports. The principal can see that as well. I'm going to go a little bit more into that. So the key features: customizing and managing your classes, viewing the assessments, accessing those virtual labs and simulations, super easy to use. The great part is that the teacher will have a login, the students will have a login, and also the principal and even the parents can have a login, so everybody can be a part of tracking the student progress. So our content, just to go a little bit into that, uniquely engaging. These are real world experiences, and they really help to deepen students' understanding and build background knowledge. The virtual reality content obviously is immersive, but on the computer, it's in WebXR format. So it's actually the same format that they make online PC video games with. So students, it's a highly engaging, it's a 360 environment that they can look in. So it really is somewhat immersive, helps them deepen their understanding, build that background knowledge so they can make connections to content. It's all interactive. So opportunities to interact with content in innovative ways, builds confidence as learners, really encourages that self-discovery, helps to elicit rich academic conversation. The learning objectives are clearly defined. We're aligned to national and state standards, and we have the built-in assessments that you can measure progress. So there's over 500 virtual labs and experiences, as I said, grades 4 through 12, STEM courses, so biology, chemistry, physics, math, your math courses, engineering. You will receive SAT and ACT prep. And then we have 2 career pathways. So one is agriculture, and the other is healthcare. And then we also have social studies and engineering tours. So these are great. It gives an overview of the history of the building and also how it was engineered. And then again, a little bit about our tracking student progress. So our reports track progress towards mastery, question and module attempt. There are also test item analysis, and it will track usage. So on this report here that you can see, this is a module report. So after the students take a lab, this is the score report that you would see. And you can see here that for question 1, I can go down the list and see which students answered that question correct, which students did not. And also, this student took the module twice. So I can see both scores, the score average, the percent correct. I can also see if this student did this on the computer or on the VR headset. And this student, George Mendel, who took this module twice, he missed question 3 both times. So I'm going to have a conversation with him and try to understand where the disconnect is there. It's question number 3. So it's just an example of some of our analytic reports. So let's talk about strategies for integrating virtual labs and experiences. They can be used to teach concepts during any location in a unit, whether it's introducing a brand new concept, whether you're trying to deepen understanding of a concept you're already currently teaching, reviewing, if you're doing some sort of review at the end of a unit, or even for remediation. And then really when you're thinking about integration, what are the traditional instructional tools that you use? Videos, models, worksheets, whiteboards, what are the things that you would traditionally use in your classroom? What are those instructional tools? And what can these virtual labs and simulations enhance that you're currently doing or replace? Okay. So I just want to give you some actual examples of some of the labs and how they can be used in the classroom. So for dissections, obviously dissections would be very difficult to do distance learning. And even in the classroom, most schools will have one frog that kids are sharing because it's expensive. So to social distancing, it might even be difficult to do in the building. So this is a great opportunity to be able to dissect at home. Not only that, this particular lab does the comparative anatomy of the ray-finned and the lobe-finned bony fish. So students actually get to click back and forth between the 2 fish as they're dissecting and to really look at the difference in their anatomy. So it's a great opportunity to look at multiple species and to be able to do that without having to purchase the equipment and handle it. Okay, so and in this one, teachers can even use these as a demonstration. So this is our density of fluids lab, and the students get to pick a variety of variables. So the different types of fluid, and also the balloons all have different materials in them. It populates a graph chart. And so the teacher can actually drive and be demonstrating as the students are saying, hey, let's try this variable, let's try that variable. And just like I'm doing this with you now, it can all be done on a Zoom call. So that's another way that you can use virtual labs for demonstration purposes. And here's also, this is a popular one that most chemistry teachers will be very familiar with, which is the litmus test. And again, this can either be done as a demonstration with the students guiding, the teacher leading, or it can be the students working independently. So let's talk about application for just a minute. This is one of my favorite labs that we have. This is one of our math labs, use of the Pythagorean theorem. So applying knowledge is really going to help students build greater meaning and increase their engagement. So equipping them with the skills to find, analyze, and evaluate the information is going to help them make their own connections. So in this module, what students do is they learn about the Pythagorean theorem first, and then they actually go out and use it to measure various objects. So they apply what they've learned, in a realistic setting so that it makes sense to them. And here's another example. This is one of our agriculture examples. So what students are going to do on this one is learn about codominance and how you can determine the color of offspring using codominance. So first they do this with cattle, and then they get to apply what they've learned on their own and do this with chickens. So it's really cute. They get to grab the chickens and put them in the box. So yeah, so this is another example of really that application piece. Couple of my most favorite labs and simulations here. So real world experiences, as we talked about, is going to give students the opportunity to experience content in different ways and make those connections. In this virtual lab here, this is a physics, and it really talks about wind speed and air pressure. So the students are in a lab conducting all these different experiments on wind speed and air pressure. And then they are outside and they actually answer the question as they learn about how wind speed and air pressure during hurricanes can cause destruction in a community. So they actually get to see the roof blow off and then answer the question. So this is another example of real world. And here's another great one. This is on magnetic field. So in this, students learn about how the sun's particles go towards the earth or pulled towards the poles. And as these particles bounce off our atmosphere, that's what creates the phenomenon aurora borealis. And so they get to actually see the science behind it and then have this experience where they're in the snow, looking around in this environment, looking at their aurora borealis. So they get to make that real world connection. Another strategy is, in this example, you can actually have the student drive the teaching. So student-led virtual demonstrations can build confidence, give students the opportunity to present science concepts, and be able to learn how to effectively communicate about science. So in this example, the students, they balance the chemical equations by popping the balloons with darts. And this student is using the annotate feature in Zoom to actually explain how they balance this equation and how they came to their answer and what they're doing. So they go through how to balance it using the annotate feature, so you can draw right on the screen there. Collaborating. So a lot of us might not think that collaboration would be easy to do. It's definitely can be a little challenging, but you can do it. So students can either work in groups, so they can meet up on their own working groups, or there's also different, I know like Zoom has rooms and you can put students in different rooms, but collaborating is definitely really powerful. I can tell you definitely, and after they graduate, they have to learn how to collaborate online, especially now everybody's working via video chat. So it's really important that students can do this and learn this skill. So in hybrid classrooms, creating these learning groups and having students work together to solve problems and think critically can really keep them engaged, and again, give them a different way to interact with the content. Definitely giving them guiding questions to ask each other will definitely help to drive that academic conversation. So in this physics lab, what students work together, they can work independently, or in this case, the teacher had them work together, and they have to navigate this maze, and they decide which simple machine that they're going to use to move an object or to go over a hurdle. And so you can have all the students meet on Zoom. One student is driving and the other students are working with them and talking together as to which simple machine they should pick. And they go through and answer the questions together. And it's going to tell them the applied force. So in summary, virtual labs, simulations, and experiences help to build background knowledge through application and real world experience. It's going to provide the practice students need to refine skills needed to be successful in a career. It's focusing on behaviors that scientists use to answer questions. And it can help provide formative assessment data that's going to guide teachers as to where students are in reference to the learning target.